I'm telling you, my win streak is so insane right now. And it's not luck, and it's not that I'm special, and God certainly didn't spend more time on me than anyone else. I'm as average and normal and averagely equipped, I think, as any man or woman comes. But all I have is a commitment to fidelity with my integrity, which means if I say I'm going to do something, mark my words, I will do it.
So Kris, you have helped me over the last 9 months lose 85 pounds. Today I want to talk a little bit about leadership, but man, you were just on stage at a health competition, and like I see some new hardware in front of you there.
Yeah, dude, I picked up these two bad boys on Saturday. Listen, they're not first place medals. There's a second place, a fourth place. But really the first place was more just the energy of 7 months of working hardcore with my coach, getting my body where it needed to be, putting on muscle, recompositioning. And yeah, man, I mean, listen, I felt very strongly that if I'm asking you to do crazy hard crap so that you lose 85 pounds in 9 months, I was asking myself, what does my level up look like? And that's what it was.
Well, first of all, congratulations. Super exciting. As we've gone through that mentorship process, as I've looked to you for leadership, I came across a really fascinating article that I want to get your insight and your opinion on. It's this guy named Cortez.
Right? The ship burner.
The ship burner.
The guy who never burned ships.
That's the guy who never actually burned the ships, right? So the legend goes. So my question to you is, effective way to lead or a Bush League maneuver, leaving his guys only one option?
You know, it's interesting. A lot of people think that what Cortez did is burn the ships so that they had no choice but to stay and fight for the next 2 years versus go home, you know, to Cuba and the surrounding areas where they had families. And that's not actually what happened. So he was facing a near mutiny because people wanted to go home and they realized that they had 500 men and they were up against like hundreds of thousands, millions of enemies. And they're like, we don't like these odds. Let's go home. So you know what he did is he actually sunk the ships, and he sunk half of them overnight because he told his men that they had worms. And so they had gone bad. And at first the men kind of bought it. But then as they were trying to figure out their solution over the next day or two, a couple more sunk, and because they had a lot of boats. And then all of a sudden they realized, they're like, wait, something smells funny. And so he actually owned it. He walked into this mutinous group of people and he said, you listen to me right now. I swear to you that if we will go, we will conquer. We will conquest. This is our time. We will win. Who's with me? And he literally turned them from mutiny, and they went and sunk their final boats. And that's what we mean by, you know, Cortez burning the ships. And yeah, I mean, this medal right here, this is a huge representation of burning ships. Yeah. Because it meant skipping delicious foods on holidays, birthdays. It meant waking up at 4:30 in the morning. It meant spending 2 hours at the gym. At the end of my journey, 3 hours a day. It meant that when I took my family for spring break 10 days across the country in our private jet, morning and night, I was looking for a gym because I had to be fidelitous to the commitments that I had made in the kitchen and also at the gym. And I had to burn all of my ships, if you will, to actually make that commitment. But how different is that from you? Dude, I pulled you on stage in front of all your friends and family, took your shirt off, put you on a scale, weighed you in, and then I told you, we're gonna shoot all this media and I'm gonna show it to the world every single day, and it will haunt you your entire life if you are infidelious to your commitment.
Yeah.
And did it work?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's been a journey that's been intense and insane. And knowing that at every single turn, I have family members, friends, hundreds of thousands of people watching this thing to make sure, is Casey going to mess up or not? Right. And it's been a very intriguing conversation with everybody I've been around. Like, hey, how's it going? They're looking for me to say like I cheated here. Right. They're like waiting for that moment. Right. And it's been very, very intriguing, but you have to, honor your commitments, right? You have to move forward.
So here's the real secret of success. How many tries do you really get before you're finally going to give up? We learn as toddlers, we get this number in our head. I can try something 1 time, 3 times, 5 times. It's usually never more than 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. If you can't figure something out, you're going to give up. And we carry that into adulthood. And yet the people that we look to as superstar producers, people that get insane results, the people who have gone on, those people didn't fail 5 times and then give up. Those people have failed thousands of times sometimes. Like I literally think of Walt Disney, who got nearly 1,000 rejections before someone funded his little cartoon mouse. Or I think literally about Colonel Sanders, who retired at 65 poor with nothing, receiving his first Social Security check and saying, I'm screwed, and then said, Mom's got a famous recipe, and then knocked on the door of 1,006 kitchens until one of them partnered with him and Kentucky Fried Chicken was born, right? You've got Dyson, the billionaire, who I don't know how many times he failed at trying to suck. Get a machine, a vacuum to suck just right. And today he's worth, I don't know how many billions of dollars because he has this global economy he's created because he got his inventions to finally work. And so the most successful people, they never get there by luck. They get there by burning their ships or boring holes into them and sinking them to the bottom of the ocean. And that's what I've asked you to do. And that's what I'm doing. And it's all based on this philosophy. We live in a world of triers, not doers. Execution is everything, but that is not what most people are doing. What they're doing is they're trying. And my definition of trying is putting in effort, but not enough to get the result. And what will the net end result be of that strategy? Fatigue, frustration, sometimes depression, and most importantly, a lack of self-belief. And once you lose belief in yourself, what do you have? I'm telling you at that point, that's a kiss of death. You have nothing. And so every single time I'm about to say I'm going to do something, for example, this book, this is my fifth book. Exciting. It just came out, have it all. I'm a 5 times author. I'm a best-selling author. If I had said, oh yeah, I'm going to write a book and a year goes by and the manuscript's not even complete, guess what that would do? It would reinforce failure. And if you reinforce enough failure, you walk around believing, well, it doesn't matter how good it is. If I try, it's never going to work. And so I have a rule. If you say you're going to do something, you have to do it. So if you have to do it, how do you then paint yourself into a corner where you can? Well, for Cortez, they say it's burning your ships. For me, I call it the hot lava game. Like this is this phrase I came up with. Do you remember when you were a kid?
Oh yeah.
Hot lava game is if you touch the ground, you're dead.
You're out.
Like you're out. So I've learned that if I commit to anything, I have to complete the task by the time that I say I will, or I'm dead. And this is probably getting a little too personal, but I've been really good. I've been on a journey the last 10 years with my physique and my fitness. And I've made a commitment that I'm going to do a show every year for the next 5 years. I'm going to put on 5 pounds of muscle every year for the next 5 years. That means 5 years from now, I'm going to weigh 250 pounds and I'm going to be freaking 4 or 5% body fat on stage. And that is a pro category. Meaning when you actually, look at novices, amateurs, pros, before you go to Mr. Olympian, you have to compete at a pro level. That would put me into a pro category. I could go after my pro card if I really wanted to be a serious bodybuilder. And so I've made that commitment to myself because our destiny is forged by who we become every single day. So I love to have a plan for what my destiny is going to look like. And so just like in writing this book, when I made the commitment, I want to have this book, I knew that I had to paint myself in the corner and play the hot lava game. And so I was honest with myself. Kris, you're not a great writer, but you have all the ideas. What did I do? I hired a ghostwriter. The ghostwriter ensured that the biggest thing that could go wrong couldn't go wrong. Because once I stroked the check, it was over. The book was going to get written. I just had to be interviewed enough. That's how I've gotten 5 books out. I'm almost done with my writer on my 6th book. We plan the next 5 books. I don't have to be a great writer to become an excellent author. And that's something that I think a lot of people don't understand. You see, the hot lava game is when you paint yourself in the corner. And so here's the vulnerable conversation I had with my wife. While I've been on this very intense health journey, my wife has kind of been at a slower rate contemplating how she wants to handle her fitness. And so over the years, we've had conversations about, honey, we're going to live to be well over 100 years. What kind of lifestyle do we want to have? How active do we want our bodies to be? How well do we want them to have been prepared for that time? And I had a breakthrough conversation with her. She is not going to appreciate me sharing the story. Honey, if you hear it, I love you. If you never hear it, thank goodness. God is good. So here's what went down. We had flown the jet to Cleveland, Ohio. We found a gym. Late that night, I'm doing my second cardio, preparing for my show, and I'm talking to my wife. And I just said, honey, you had a coach for 6 months and you made almost no progress. And she said, I know, I'm so discouraged. And I said, do you know why it didn't work? And she was humming and hawing. She couldn't quite figure it out. It says, it's because you're a cheater. And she looked at me, and my wife and I have 20 years of a fidelitous relationship. So she was surprised that I used that word. And I said, well, come on, be honest. You're a cheater. You're always, every week, almost every day, there's an exception to how much extra food you put in your mouth or why you need to cut your exercise short or I had a headache, right? Women love to say that one. So she got to a point where she was admitting, she's like, I hate to admit it, but you know what? I'm a cheater. I really have been. It makes sense. Of course, it wasn't going to work. And she said, but I still feel discouraged. I said, so why don't you play the hot lava game? She said, well, what does that look like? I said, it's simple. There is a little bomb in my head, kind of like Mission Impossible, and you are holding the kill switch. And if you will be fidelitous to what I asked you to do for 90 days, you will achieve 80% of your goal. And then the next 90 days, we'll lose the last 20%. And then the next 6 months is literally just hardening it into the who you become. And she said, well, what do you mean? I said, there's a gun to my head. There's a bomb in my brain. And if you hit the button, it explodes and I die. She says, well, geez, what ignites the bomb? I said, infidelity. You cheat. You say you're going to eat this way. Here's the exact meal plan. If you put one extra peanut in your mouth, if you eat one less egg white, or if on a holiday or a birthday, you decide to eat just a little sliver of cake, the bomb goes off and I'm dead. She said, Kris, that is so extreme. I said, when your self-belief is on the line, everyone should be as extreme as I'm telling you to be right now. So she thought about it for a second. She said, okay, so what's the plan? I said, it's simple. I'm going to give you cardio. I'm going to give you exercise, and I'm going to give you a nutrition plan. Don't question me because you've seen me help Ryan lose 100 pounds. You've seen what I've done with Casey. You've seen what I've done with people over time. Gary Norris, so many others. You've seen what I've done with my body. Look at where it's at. She's like, I know. When I have an 8-pack like this, my wife, she looks at me like I'm a piece of meat that she wants to devour. Makes me a little uncomfortable, but I also like that too, right? I love feeling wanted. And I'm right now my wife, she wants me. She's really not going to want to hear this episode. No. So I said, she said, well, what are you going to ask me to do? Is it going to be hard? I said, well, what is more important to you, putting in effort and being a trier and having it not work, or doing something that is guaranteed to work because the commitment is called whatever it takes, you'll do it until no matter what? She said, so let me get this right. You'll be my coach? I said, yes. She's never allowed me to do that in 20 years. And she said, and you're going to tell me what my cardio is and whatever it is, I have to have a positive attitude and do it? I said, yes. She said, whatever the nutrition plan, I just have to follow it to a T? I said, yes. And she said, and then I have to lift weights and you're going to spot me and be my partner? I said, yes. She said, well, I can do that. I said, great. Just know that if you cheat even a little bit, the bomb in my head goes off and I die. And that really connected with my wife, as extreme as it sounded, because it was this notion of, I treat my self-belief like life or death, minus the fear. Every single day of my life, I am headstrong going for something. And the reason why everything I touch turns to gold sounds arrogant, but I'm telling you, my win streak is so insane right now. And it's not luck, and it's not that I'm special, and God certainly didn't spend more time on me than anyone else. I'm as average and normal and averagely equipped, I think, as any man or woman comes. But all I have is a commitment to fidelity with my integrity, which means if I say I'm going to do something, mark my words, I will do it. And that's my reputation that I have. So I said, honey, if you'll do that for 90 days, you'll get 85% of your goal. So she got on the scale this morning. It's been a week and a half. And this last week, she lost 1.5 pounds. She said, Kris, I just made more progress with you in 1 week than I did 6 months with my trainer. I said, and do you know why? And she said, sheepishly, fidelity. I'm like, yes, fidelity is also not just cool as in I'm not sleeping with another dude or woman. Fidelity is also being true to yourself. I said, you've been cheating on you. The most important relationship you have on this planet is with yourself. Don't cheat on yourself. If you say you're going to do something, then you better be the person that will do it at all costs. I don't care how late in the day it is. I don't care if you're finishing your task at midnight. If you say you're going to do something, put your life on the line, minus the fear, which means don't program cortisol spiking levels of anxiety and stress, but rather elevate your commitment level as if someone's life is on the line, because I assure you, yours is. Because at the end of the day, if you don't believe you're capable of producing a result when it matters, then who have you become and what is your legacy? I'll tell you what it is. It's called mediocrity. You are forgettable, and won't take very long after you die before the world stops thinking about you, except for a few choice loved ones that will keep you in their memory. And when they're gone, then you are especially gone. But if you want a legacy where you can transcend death, that's possible. I'm not just talking about resurrection power, Jesus Christ. I'm talking about the fact that legacy is born out of more than just who you are in this life. Your inspiration and your acts can continue living on, but it is only granted, I believe, to those, the fountain of youth, if you will, life eternal, life after. I think that is rewarded to those in life that have integrity. So play the hot lava game, play like your life is on the line. I assure you it is. And make sure that you never reinforce failure. Always learn the lesson, get up and try again. Be willing to do whatever it takes. Burn your ships, sink your ships. And in the end, that will tell the world who you really are.
I love that. I've been sitting here thinking, Kris, why do we give up on ourselves? Why is that the first person that so you talk about burning your ships and moving forward and only having one course of action, hot lava, etc. But why are we so quick to give up on ourselves?
It's this weird thing. I'll get a little biblical today, because when Christ appeared to Thomas, who was doubting, he had made this comment: if I can't see, if I can't thrust my hand into my side and feel the prints, then I'm just not going to believe. And I think that is so typical of most human beings. We believe what we can see, which means we live in a world where we trust our senses instead of our intuition. The problem with trusting your senses is that means you only believe what you've seen, which means that your future is a byproduct of your past. It means that you can't have more in your future than you've gotten in your past, because your future is now literally a reincarnation of your past. So how you break that cycle is with faith, it means choosing to believe in something that hasn't happened yet, even and especially when you have zero evidence that it could ever happen. Self-belief, like I'm telling you right now, as I sit here, I am not a billionaire, but I declared in 2009, January 15th, that I would become a billionaire. And I let out a game plan to a bunch of investors of exactly how it would happen. I had no idea how it was going to happen. Now I know how many months away I am, I believe, from that moment. And when it happens, I will not believe any more than I've already been believing since January 15th, 2009, where in my head, in my mind palace, I have practiced every day of my life a billionaire, but not just a billionaire, 100 times over. Because one of the results or byproducts of my life will be giving $100 billion away. Right now, I know what it feels like to write checks for hundreds of thousands and even millions, but not yet tens of millions or hundreds of millions. Those times are still yet ahead. It does not change my belief that they've already occurred, but that the time has simply not elapsed. I think that everyone needs to have faith in what they're creating, or else robotically they'll default to a mediocrity that is a definition of who they've been. And how boring is a life where you already know where you're going to be 5 years from now, and it's not greater than where you are right now. That, I think, is probably what I fear the most, is a life without growth.
Yeah, 100%. As a matter of fact, my wife and I were driving on a trip the other day, and we talked about what are our 5-year goals, right? I think a lot of people get stuck in the immediate, the now, the 3 months, the 6 months. And it wasn't until I started working with you that you said, listen, you need to have goals for your health. 5 years, 10 years down the road, decade-long goals. And I had never, ever considered that before in my entire life. So I think that's a huge thing that people are missing in their mind palaces, right? Is what does my life look like in 5 years, in 10 years, and 15 years? Super, super powerful. All right, Kris, thank you for another wonderful episode of Have It All. Talk to you guys soon.